Godzilla!
What's going on, people? LP2000 back at you with another video. Yes, welcome back to Leisure Chambers Kaiju Reviews on behalf of Summit Kaiju. And today we're taking a look at the X Plus 30cm favorite sculptors line of
Godzilla 1962.
Louder.
Godzilla 1962.
Standard edition from the epic, iconic Showa fun Godzilla film.
King Kong versus Godzilla.
Louder.
King Kong versus Godzilla.
Yes, welcome back. Yes, we're doing this review today. Yes, and my daughters Olivia and Jasmine wanted to come in and say hi on the review. Say hi.
Hi. Hello.
Yes, so yes, this is a great figure. Such an amazing piece. Before I get into the meat and potatoes of this review, I'm going to ask the lovely ladies here. When you first look at this Godzilla, what do you think? Like what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
He's fat.
He's fat. I can see that. He's fat. What else? Jasmine.
He tried to eat David and Lily.
No, he didn't.
Oh.
That's the wrong Godzilla.
It looks dirty too.
He did fight a giant ape that had electricity powers.
Oh, he's mean.
He's mean?
Yes. He looks
dirty. Like when you look at him from the face, like what does that face say?
He's fat.
He's fat.
He looks dirty.
Yeah. You know, it's the same one as that big one right there. It's the same design. So.
But that one don't look dirty. Oh, he's rolling his eyes.
He's rolling his eyes.
Yes.
Okay, so you heard it here first, folks. He's fat. He's mean looking. He's rolling his eyes, and yeah. So take that, all you Godzilla 1962 fans out there. All right, ladies, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna go and do the review now.
Thank you.
Love you.
I like turtles.
Thank you. Yes, gotta love kids. Yes, welcome back to the review. Yes, I've been teasing this guy for the past couple of months, at least not a couple of months. I'm getting all my timelines messed up. In the past couple videos, and I'm finally getting to do this guy. Yes, favorite sculptors line, standard edition, Godzilla 1962 from King Kong versus Godzilla. It is such an amazing piece. Yes, and it adds such an impressive atmosphere aura to the already existing figures of the Godzilla 1962 on the X Plus roster, with the exception of the 25cm. We ain't going there today. Yeah, we're not going there on that one, but seriously, all jokes aside, this really is a superior piece. Nice piece. And this is the box. Yes, I am so loving this box, you know, with the picture of the beautiful figure on the front, King Kong versus Godzilla in Japanese text on the right-hand side, and of course, in the bottom left-hand corner, favorite sculptors line, the Godzilla 1962 30cm figure. Yes, I'm really loving this box, and it's more akin to the 30cm boxes or the Sakai's, more so the Sakai's. And this is the first box out of the favorite sculptors line from releases this year that featured this, you know, this colorful artwork. You know, the rest of them had the brown boxes with the black silhouette of the figures on the front. But this is a nice change, and I hope they go forward with this type of artwork in the future on the boxes, which is why I'm not going to toss it. So yeah, this is a great looking box. Yes, it is. So let's go into the backstory about this figure. It first came up for pre-order in May, and it got dropped late July, going into early August. This is the standard edition. The ripboard option came with a little name plaque that had King Kong versus Godzilla in red letters with the black background on the plaque, little small plaque, and it also came with the light up dorsal plate arrangement. Hip hip hooray on that one. Yeah, I mean, nothing against anybody who did get the Rick, because you know, out of the two options, I really would have liked to have gotten the plaque, you know. But the light ups, I'm kind of like, you know, getting a little burnt out, no pun intended, on them, you know. More so because the light up dorsal plates, for what I've seen in pictures, the dorsal plates light up white, which is not exactly how the dorsal plates lit up in the film. Now, had they did a more blue dorsal plate arrangement on the LED, you know, lights in the dorsal plates, I probably would have went for the Rick, because that's how the dorsal plates lit up in the film anyway. They lit up blue, like the 64. You know what I mean? But the dorsal plates lit up white, you know, but which made it even easier for me to go for the standard on this guy. And of course, it's from the favorites. Sculptors Line. Once again, they have been killing this year with this line alone. You know, this makes the fourth release from this line. The first that came out this year was a 25 centimeter GMK Baragon Mothra set. The second one was the 25 centimeter Descador from the Rebirth of Mothra film. The third was the new 25 centimeter Godzilla 2001 GMK figure. And this is the fourth, and they're not done this year. At the time of recording, it is what, September the I think 9th. Yeah, 9th. And at the time of recording, they're gonna be coming out with a new 30 centimeter crawling Varan from Varan the Unbelievable, and it's gonna have an awesome Baradagi statue along with that, to coincide with the 60th anniversary of Varan. You know, Varan turned 60 this year, and it turned 60 in October. So that's when supposedly this new crawling 30 centimeter crawling Varan is dropping. I can't wait for that. Once again, this is the fifth release of the favorite Sculptors Line. And for those who don't know what the favorite Sculptors Line is, I talked about that in past videos, but I'm gonna give a little short version here. Basically, this favorite Sculptors Line is basically X Plus is picking kits from famous garage kit companies or builders, and is basically using that kit to make vinyl figures out of. You know, whether it's Goro, Monster Maker 28, or in this case, this was actually from a resin kit called, I believe, Atricon GK of the 30 centimeter Godzilla 1962, and it was resin. And I know only of one person that actually has this kit. He's a good friend of mine. You've probably seen him on my videos a couple of times. I've talked about him countless times. The one and the only Kaiju photographer and model builder extraordinaire, David Arab.co. He has this kit, and I know he has gone on record by saying that this is his most favorite Godzilla collectible in his collection. You know, the Atricon GK, you know, KingGoji kit, and this figure was based off of that. And of course, there's be some shrinkage involved because the full kit was a full 30 centimeter size. You know, 12 inches, maybe hovering underneath the 13 inches. This guy, because of the vinyl shrinkage, because of the conversion of resin to vinyl, he does fall in just a little bit shorter than that. He's like at 29 centimeters, something like maybe like 11 and a half underneath the 12-inch mark, but he still is a good size, you know, with him being bulky, his tail going outward straight out. It really is a nice piece. It really is. And it was a nice conversion of the resin sculpt into a vinyl figure, because the detail on this thing is amazing. It is so awesome. And speaking of David Arab.co, you will hear more from him later on in this episode, so please stay tuned. As well as another good friend of mine, Jeremy Souls from Summit Kaiju. You will hear from both of those fine gentlemen regarding the 62 later on in this episode. But yes, and I got this, like I said, a few weeks ago, like the first week in August, and I couldn't be happier. Now, when it first got announced, let me just say, honestly, I wasn't too overly excited about this release, you know, especially coming from the favorite Sculptors Line. And with the premise behind the favorite Sculptors Line, with them trying to go after more elite kits and stuff like that. Now, mind you, I do have a soft spot for the 62. I love the 62. You know, I have a huge nostalgia for this suit and for this design. But when they announced this for the favorite Sculptors Line, I was a little bit mildly disappointed, because I wanted to see other Godzilla incarnations that we have not seen before from X Plus come from this line. Like, for example, the Monster Maker 28 Godzilla 1974. I would love to see that come at some point. or the TS Facto 30 centimeter Godzilla 1955, which honestly, that design doesn't get talked about that much, but that design from TS Facto or T's Facto is a great design. I would even say it's probably even better looking than the X Plus vinyl version. You know what I mean? I'd like to see that come to the favorite Sculptors line. Or going back to Monster Maker 28, how about the Godzilla 1984, whether it's the regular version or the Cybot, you know? I was looking something along those lines to come from the favorite Sculptors line. So when they announced the 62, I was like, I mean, I was happy and I was going to get it. I was going to debate whether I needed another 62 in my collection because I do have a soft spot for the 62, as I said. So so it wasn't really a debate of whether I was going to get it or not. I was going to get it, but at the same time, I wanted to see something else as far as Godzilla that we've not seen before come from the favorite Sculptors line. I'm sure we'll get there at some point. You know, I'm sure we'll get there. But in the meantime, this really is a great piece. It really is a great piece. Now, how does he fare, in my opinion, with the gigantic and the original 30 centimeter? Now, I don't have the 25 because I have taste. I don't have the 25 centimeter 62, but I do have the original 30, at least the reissue writ that came out in 2013. And of course, you know, I have the gigantic. So where does he fare? Where does this guy fare amongst the other 62s? Well, you're going to have to wait for that. We'll talk about that before we finish up this review. But yes, initial thoughts, it looks great. It's awesome. I'm so glad to have it in my collection. And you know how we do things around here. Let's get up close and personal with the 30 centimeter favorite Sculptors line standard edition of Godzilla 1962 from King Kong versus Godzilla. All right, let's go. Okay, folks, this is up close and personal with the Godzilla 1962 figure. And let's try and start off with an aerial shot, like a helicopter shot. It would be great if I had like some foam to recreate like an iceberg, to recreate when he first comes out of the iceberg. Oh well, not everybody can be Steve Herron. And yes, Kaiju collectors would get that reference. But on the surface, the detail on this thing is amazing. It is so awesome. Yes, you know, you can see like the bends and folds right here in the sculpt to recreate, you know, more so the suit than the monster itself. One thing I like about this Godzilla design is the face. The face is amazing. And out of all the 62s I have, I probably would say this one is the most menacing. Because that's the thing with the Godzilla 1962. He comes off very misleading when you look at it from different angles. He's probably the only Godzilla design that I know that looks cool one way, but looks different another way. Like, for example, looking at him right now, he looks awesome and menacing. Let's change the angle a little bit. See that? Now he looks like a daggone Muppet Baby. He looks like a mutated Muppet Baby, but still maintain that sinister and just that somewhat evilness that he displayed, or villainous nature that he displayed in King Kong versus Godzilla. So he looks great. Now, the detail, like I said, is amazing. The sculpt, like I said, just looks exactly like the 1962. Let's go with the dorsal plates. Dorsal plates look exactly like the suit, you know, from the proportions, from where the dorsal plates look, at least the way they were placed on the suit, looks really awesome. The detail, excuse me, not detail, the paint job has more of a lighter paint job, and that's been kind of like a subject of debate amongst us collectors that got this figure. Is it accurate? Is it not accurate? I would say that the design is accurate, but the paint job is up for debate. It is subjective. Now, maybe you can argue the way he looks that way. He looks that way with the lighter paint job, especially like on his knees, his abdomen here, his chunky abdomen, or his chunky pelvic area here. He just looks like that he's been rolling around in the dirt with Kong, you know, at the end of the film, you know. You can argue that. But far as like the paint job on the claws, let's talk about that for like 2 seconds before we get back to the overall paint job. This reminds me of when Godzilla first appears in the film. You know, when Godzilla comes out of the iceberg, roars like crazy, and scares the two guys in the helicopter. He makes his way towards that army base and lays waste to it. During that whole scene, Godzilla has his claws painted like this. But for the rest of the film, when we see him again, his claws are more so the same color of the suit, the darker colors of the suit. And which probably, you know, just begs the question, like, what happened to the claws? I would think that maybe during the course of production with him rolling around with Kong or him going through various filming during the different sets and stuff like that, that maybe just the claws faded, you know, and just had the same color as the rest of the suit. But as you see here with them being lighter, when I look at this figure, it just reminds me of when he first comes out of the iceberg, which in my opinion is one of the best moments of the Showa era, when Godzilla comes out of the iceberg and just has that awesome entrance. Not as awesome as the entrance from Mothra vs. Godzilla, but then again, that's just my opinion. I know some folks be like, you're a fanboy, you're gonna say that regardless. But hey, I'm giving it this guy his props. You know, that was an awesome scene. You know, it was better than King Kong scene. First appearance scene in the film. But yeah, I'm biased towards the 64. But it's not about the 64, it's about this guy. And basically, the detail speaks for itself. It really does. I can go on and on about the detail, but they did a great job, X Plus did, of converting, you know, the resin kit and translating it into vinyl form. You know, they have done a great job from the sculpt to the paint job on his dorsal plates, you know, and it looks amazing. Now, of course, it does need a tail stand, you know. More often than not, sometimes these figures don't really need the tail stands, but in this case, it does. Otherwise, he'll lean back, and I don't want to have him displayed like that. So, but he looks great. Like, you know, once again, this is probably the Godzilla design, at least the Godzilla figure in my collection that looks the most menacing. You know, he looks so just evil, especially from this angle right here. But right here, he looks. We ain't got to go into it, but you get what I'm talking about. You know, us hardcore Godzilla fans know about the 62. Or at least the 2000, because the 2000 was based off the 62, and it kind of has that same type of different look when you look at it from one way and look at it from a completely different way. But either way, this captures the essence of the Godzilla 1962 flawlessly. You know, whether you have an issue with the paint job or not, whether you feel it's accurate or not, this really is an amazing piece. And it's such a welcome addition to the favorite Sculptors line, which is one of the reasons why I love the favorite Sculptors line. Aside from the fact that these figures are affordable, even more so affordable than the Sakai's. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the Sakai's. And you get what you pay for, you know. Of course, they have more of an elevated price of Sakai's name attached to the product, even though they do have more detail than your average 30cm figure. But the favorite Sculptors line, not only are they affordable and you pay along the lines of the regular 30cm prices or 25cm prices, and what they have chosen thus far has been really, really amazing. As a matter of fact, that will be the first size comparison in a couple seconds. I will bring up all the monsters that I've gotten this year from the favorite Sculptors line, and you see how all of them look together. But to wrap up this up close and personal segment here, it looks great. Face, sinister, evil looking. You know, he's looking like he's ready just to tear Kong apart or get booby trapped into a pit or something like that. Really just an amazing 1962, and definitely does make up for that horrendous 25cm sculpt that they brought out a long time ago. So if you're able to get your hands on this for a good price, whether it's the ripboard or the standard, please get your hands on this figure. You would not be disappointed. So let's see how he looks compared with the other participants in the favorite Sculptors line. Alright, let's see how they all look together. Okay, folks, here we are, the full roster from the favorite Sculptors line that was released this year, 2018. Yes, from left to right, let's start with Death Ghidorah. Of course, Godzilla 1962, the GMK Baragon, the new GMK Godzilla 2001, and of course, the GMK Mothra. Of course, GMK Mothra, Godzilla, and Baragon are from Monster Maker 28. Of course, Godzilla 1962 is from the Atricon GK kit. And of course, the Death Ghidorah is from Goro. And as you can see, they look so well together. And X Plus has done a great job picking these elite kits to represent this favorite Sculptors line. And once again, it has got me so pumped and anxious for whatever else that may be coming from the line. Because once again, we already know that the next one will be the new crawling 30cm Varan from Varan the Unbelievable. Now, I'm sure they'll probably expand on the line at least next year. As of right now, we don't know anything that's coming from the line outside of the upcoming Varan. But I'm sure that we'll see more incarnations of monsters, hopefully monsters that we have not seen before, from great model kits from the past, and they can be repackaged into vinyl figures as you see right here. Once again, I make no bones about the fact, 74 Godzilla, 84 Godzilla, whereas the Sidebot or the regular, I would love to see that from Monster Maker 28 coming to the favorite Sculptors line. There's so many other kit companies out there, you know, Dimos, Kyoto, Goro, like I said, with Death Gador, just all these great model kits, garage kits that we have seen go for horrendous prices, so at least, you know, more elevated prices. And but to have those repackaged into vinyl X Plus figures for more affordable price makes me love the favorite Sculptors line. So yes, as you can see, they look so well together. The detail on every single one of these figures represents the kits that they were modeled after, and it looks awesome. It really does look awesome. Now, so that's pretty much it with the size comparisons. Actually, you know what? I got one more size comparison. I still have to compare this 62 with the other 62s I have in my collection. Now, I do have two Gigantics, and I have the regular 30 centimeters, but I'm just going to put like this new KingGoji from the favorite Sculptors line up against the original 30 and one of the Gigantics. And I'll talk about then which one do I find more favorable, you know. But until then, check out my friend David Arab.co as he talk about the 1962 Godzilla he has in his collection. And directly after that, hear from my other good friend Jeremy Souls talk about this Godzilla 1962 from the favorite Sculptors line. And then we'll finish up with my thoughts on which of the 1962s in my collection is my favorite. Alright, so here we are, ladies and gentlemen, the one and the only David Arab.co and Jeremy Souls.
Hey there, David Dotko here. A few days ago, my good friend Leslie Chambers sent me a message and asked me if I'd do a short video chat and talk about Godzilla 1962 and show you guys some of the toys, figures, and model kits from my collection. Let me start off by saying I'm not really that great at doing these Rich Iso style video chats. It's a very tough act to follow. But bear with me, we'll get through this, and hopefully it won't be too painful. So here goes. The 1962 Godzilla design is actually my second favorite, my first being the 1964 design, which was seen in Mothra vs. Godzilla, and then again in Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, although the suit was slightly retooled for that film. Here we have the 1962 Godzilla. This was the very first time that fans actually got to see Godzilla in full color. And if you look closely, you'll notice he no longer has any ears. And instead of 4 toes, he now has 3. And just looking at this suit, we realize that we are not getting the same Godzilla that we got in the first 2 films. He's definitely more bulky, more massive, more imposing, decidedly more reptilian, and now sporting these large, bony dorsal plates and a long, elegant tail. It's a really, really iconic Godzilla design. And I do think that fans of a certain age, when they think of Godzilla, this is the image that comes to mind, because almost everybody has seen King Kong vs. Godzilla. I've seen it countless times. It's one of my favorite films in the series. I love both the American and the Japanese versions for different reasons. But I will say, if you've not seen the Japanese version, please do yourself a favor and check it out. It's a great film, and you absolutely won't regret it. So enough about that. Let's start talking about the toys. So my very first Godzilla toy is also the very first Godzilla toy ever produced in the United States. And coincidentally, it happens to be a representation of the 1962 Godzilla. This, of course, is the Aurora Styrene model kit. Released in the late 60s, early 70s, and has been re-released over the years by Monogram and also by Polar Lights. I got this guy when I was in elementary school for bringing home a good report card. And I'm not going to say too much more about him except for this toy is responsible for many of us to fall in love with Godzilla and start us on our collecting journey. So for that, hats off to this figure. Next up, I've got the Bandai 1962 Godzilla vinyl toy. This guy was released in 1983, I believe, and I happened to get this one in a toy shop in New York City on Bleecker Street. Too much to say about this figure, except for it's a very fine rendition of the 62 suit. And this figure reinvigorated my passion for Godzilla collecting in the late 80s, when I really seriously began to seek out these awesome toys and figures. So, Bandai 1962 Godzilla. Keeping with the Bandai theme, I also have this guy. This is the Bandai Museum 1962 garage toy. Not too much to say about this figure. I believe he was released in 2004 and got great detail for a toy. Sort of a precursor to X Plus, whereas you get a realistic, fully painted, finished figure that you just have to take out of the box and simply put on the shelf. So here we have Bandai Museum 1962 vinyl garage toy. Over the years, soft vinyl toy companies have produced various renditions of the 62 Godzilla. Here are two of my favorites. This is the M1, aka M Ichigo, 1962 Godzilla from their classic box. And then this guy is the Marmot Monster Heaven glow-in-the-dark Godzilla. Two fine examples of an array of 1962 toys made by soft vinyl toy companies. And these two are great examples. All right, next up, this is the X Plus 30 centimeter 1962 Godzilla. They also did one in the 25 centimeter scale, which was a little bit disappointing, but as you can see, this figure definitely does not disappoint. Big, massive, bulky figure, slightly stylized, great rendition of the suit, and a great addition to anyone's collection. Next up, this guy is my first foray into resin model kits. This is the Kaiju Friis 30 centimeter resin model kit. Although it says 30 centimeter, I think it's a tad smaller than 30 centimeters. But again, great detail. Resin kits have great details. A little bit more challenging to build than vinyl, but well worth it. And just show you a little close-up of the detail of the folds of the suit and the skin and the detail on the dorsal plates. Really cool kit. Glad to have it in my collection. Kaiju Friis 30 centimeter Godzilla 1962 resin kit. All right, let's go now to this guy. This is my favorite Godzilla 1962 collectible in my collection. This is the Resin Atragon GK 30 centimeter 1962 kit. This is definitely a true 30 centimeter. He's big, bulky, massive, and he's sculpted by Mr. Ryu Oyama. And this is the inspiration for the recently released X Plus favorite Sculptor Line 30 centimeter vinyl toy. Just an amazing figure. Again, very detailed. Hard to find for the longest time, and when it did show up, it was very expensive. So it's just awesome that X Plus was able to get this mold and recreate it for the masses so people can afford to have this amazing piece in their collections. Let me see if I can hold them both up together so you can see them together. Here they are together. As you can see, very, very similar. Hardly anything was lost in the transition from resin to vinyl. Slightly smaller, which does tend to happen, but again, a very, very solid piece. And normally I don't like to double dip on figures that I have, but I love this one so much, and I love to take him outside to photograph him. I was always worried that I would break off the tail or a dorsal plate or a fingernail. So now I have this guy, which is a lot lighter and a lot more easy to transport. He can sort of be his stunt double, kind of stand in for him. So I'm going to put him back down for a second and go back to him. This guy's awesome. This is the Rick version. aside from the light up dorsal plates, he also has this really, really awesome nameplate that says King Kong versus Godzilla. Actually, my model kit has the same nameplate that I never bothered to paint up, so now I have 2 of those as well. And let's finish up with this masterpiece, which is the X Plus Gigantic 1962 Godzilla. On my 50th birthday, I was lucky enough to join some awesome friends and go to Japan. And while we were there, we were invited to X Plus HQ, where we saw an X Plus artist actually sculpting this guy. He was about 3/4 of the way done, and they were sculpting the texture in his skin, and it was just such a special thing to see.
Hello from Summit Kaiju, located in the Rocky Mountains. Today I want to talk about the 1962 favorite Sculptors Line, Godzilla, from my favorite film, King Kong vs. Godzilla. I'm so glad I got this guy. He's absolutely amazing. I love the details on him, and when I took him out hiking, he really was very photogenic to the outside nature. Really, I just don't have any complaints all in all about this guy. I'm so glad that X Plus decided to make him. And if any of you guys are looking to get one, I would say go ahead and do it. You will not be disappointed.
Okay, folks, I'm back. Let's wrap this review up, and let me give a huge shout out and thank you to David Eric.co and Jeremy Souls for your invaluable input and contribution to this video. I really do appreciate it. I'm sure that we'll be doing a collaboration again at some point in the future. But until then, thank y'all fine gentlemen for doing what you did. I really do appreciate it. And before I give my final thoughts of which of the KingGojis is my favorite, let me just say, first and foremost, I love this figure. If you can find one for a good price, please get your hands on it. You know what I mean? It is such an amazing piece, and it's such an amazing addition to the favorite Sculptors line, which is shaping up to be a really, really big thing. It's becoming one of my favorite lines for as X Plus that I really am digging into. You know what I mean? You know that my favorite line is the Gigantics. You know, but the favorite Sculptors line is the one that is intriguing me the most right now as a collector, and is getting me really, really ultra excited of what we may be seeing after the new Quantum Varan comes out. You know what I mean? But before I give my thoughts on the KingGoji here, or at least my favorite one out of the bunch, I want to talk about the suit just a little bit for like the design. Once again, I have huge nostalgia for this suit because of the film King Kong vs. Godzilla. You know, the transition when they drop, you know, from his 4-toe scheme to his 3 toes, and they decided not to give him ears this time. What I love about this Godzilla is the fact that, you know, they decided to change his look to a more reptilian, almost monstrous look. In 55 and 54, he had more so of a prehistoric look, which was fine. But also a lot of folks need to understand that when King Kong vs. Godzilla came about, Toho really, or at least Eiji Tsuburaya, you know, special effects was behind these classic films. He wanted to change the Godzilla's direction to cater more towards a kid-friendly audience. He wanted to cater more to children to broaden their audience. So they needed to find a way to bring Godzilla back, not have him look more horrific as he was in 54 and 55, but yet still maintain that Godzilla-esque look, but yet still maintain him being a villain, but yet still maintain him having more of a playful look where kids can still get behind him, or at least get behind the fact of wanting to see Kong beat him down, because Godzilla was the villain in this film, you know? And I think they did a great job with this, you know? Once again, that's the most intriguing thing about this Godzilla design, where he looks one way, you know, he looks great one way, and he looks completely different when you look at him from head on. You know, he looks great from a profile view, but when you look at him from the front, you can hardly even notice that it's the real Godzilla. You know, not too many Godzilla designs pull it off, with the exception of maybe Godzilla 2000, which was patterned after 62. But I think they were able to accomplish this, you know, what they were going for with this design, with the whole premise of why they brought Godzilla back in King Kong vs. Godzilla, which basically kicked off the Showa series, or at least when they started making more of these films yearly. Because I always say, without King Kong vs. Godzilla, you know, I don't think the Showa series will be as fun as it is. Of course, we all know that we owe everything to the original. Without the original, there wouldn't have been a King Kong versus Godzilla. But I think King Kong versus Godzilla had a lot more to do with Godzilla maintaining the traction of him becoming more of a bigger star, you know, and with him becoming a big star today. Because at the time, in 1962, King Kong was seen more as the draw. You know, he was the bigger star out of the two. But I think in the long run, without this film, or with this film, Godzilla is now, you know, a bigger draw than I'm sure that his filmmakers thought he would ever be. You know, I think they owe a lot to King Kong versus Godzilla being successful on why that is today. You know what I mean? Because King Kong versus Godzilla, even though I think Shin Godzilla made more money at the box office, I still say King Kong versus Godzilla is still probably the most popular Godzilla film. Not just for Godzilla fans, but just for everybody. You know? And that really does says a lot. So that's why I'm really digging the design. I'm really digging why they wanted to change Godzilla's character. Still maintain him being a villain, but still wanting to cater to more of a kid-friendly audience. And I think it worked. I really do think it works. Now, with that being said, which one of the 1962 Godzillas in my collection is my favorite? And honestly, I gotta be honest here. I'm going with the original 30 centimeter. That to me just represents, you know, how the suit was on film. You know, the paint job is better in my opinion. The overall bulkiness of the suit, you know, it just, everything flows together in a more perfect package with the 30 as far as I'm concerned. As a matter of fact, I go from my most favorite to my least favorite. Not trying to say that my least favorite is my least favorite, like, you know, just not a favorite nonetheless, but he's still a favorite of mine, you know. But I view the original 30 #1, the gigantic #2, and ironically, the favorite Sculptors Line as #3. Doesn't mean that I hate it. I really don't. I don't hate this figure. But I just find this one more superior. The 30 more superior. The original 30 more superior. But I will say, out of all of them, the favorite Sculptors Line is a more detailed one. You know, because of the conversion from the resin sculpt to vinyl, it still maintains that detail. It does maintain that detail where he looks more like a vinyl statue. A vinyl statue, you know, a statue version of the suit. But as far as like what the monster looked like, when I think of the I can't even talk. When I think of the KingGoji suit, I just think of the original 30. You know, nothing against the favorite Sculptors Line, but that's just my opinion. I'm sure a lot of folks will feel that the favorite Sculptors Line one is better than the original. I'm sure there are probably some folks out there that feel that the gigantic is the more superior one. That's the thing. It's all subjective. We're all entitled to our opinions, and nobody's wrong when it comes to that. So if you feel that the favorite Sculptors Line is the more superior one, hey, good for you. You feel the gigantic is more superior or the original 30, hey, good for you. It's all subjective. But that's one thing about coming together and having different opinions. It makes things more fun. Because if we all felt the same way, it would be a pretty dull and boring place. And that's one thing I can say about the Godzilla fandom, at least the Godzilla collecting community in general. It has never been boring, you know what I mean? But even still, even though it's like, you know, it comes in third, in my opinion, the favorite Sculptors Line version comes in #3, he still gets my highest recommendation. So if you can find one for a good price, whether it's the standard or the Ripboard, you can't go wrong with it. So please get your hands on this figure. You'll not be disappointed. You know what I mean? So that pretty much concludes my review of the X Plus 30 centimeter favorite Sculptors Line standard edition of the Godzilla 1962 figure from the epic iconic film King Kong vs. Godzilla. If you have any questions, hop me down in the comment section or hit me on Facebook via Leslie P. Chambers. We'll definitely go from there. Yes! Woo! I'm so glad I got all these chunky big boys together. You know what? This one thing about the 62. You can't help but to love them. You can't help but to just gravitate to this design or gravitate to this Godzilla. Even though he was just in one film, despite, you know, the unofficial Godzilla versus the Wolfman movie or whatever, King Kong vs. Godzilla is the only time that you've seen this Godzilla film, where he was in Mothra vs. Godzilla briefly. But overall, that's what makes this Godzilla design even that more special. The fact that he was just in just that one film, and the fact that it's probably the most popular Godzilla film in the history of the world, doesn't hurt either. So yeah, if you can get your hands on this figure, whether it's the standard or the Ripboard, you cannot go wrong with the favorite Sculptors Line Godzilla 1962, or if you can get your hands on the gigantic or the 30, you can't go wrong. Like I said, the only one that's a misfire as far as X Plus is concerned, as far as the KingGoji is concerned, is the 25 centimeter. That one I just feel was just a step in the wrong direction. But they made up for it when they chose to bring this one out to the favorite Sculptors line of the Godzilla 1962. And yeah, so if you can get one for a good price, please get it. You will not be disappointed. A lot of stuff is coming on the channel. RMC Gamma 1995 is coming. Jet Jaguar 30 centimeter, the 30 centimeter Sakai Shin, the Space Godzilla Rip Boy set. I'm also getting the Death of Real 84, GMK 62, the new Crawling Varan. I'm getting that. Just a lot of stuff is coming here on the channel, and I got a couple other live stream ideas I'm going to get off the ground in the next couple of weeks. So please stay tuned. A lot of stuff is coming to the channel. You would not be disappointed. But in the meantime, get that guy. Get it. Show the KingGoji some love. You know, you can never have enough love for the KingGoji Godzilla. Alright? So I thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And I will see y'all again on this freaking move review. Alright? Y'all take it easy.